zoning. Strictly a motion to ratify. So
Motion, so moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, with that, that completes our council portion of the agenda. I'll call for a motion to adjourn council and move to committee of the whole.
Second.
Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. And I'll invite Councillor Workwood up to the chair and we'll swap places.
Thank you to each of you here this evening for taking time to come out for this part and for the council meeting. And the procedure for tonight's meeting is as follows. I will ask the clerk to introduce the item, after which council will be given an opportunity to ask any questions of staff. I will then ask the applicant to present their application, following which I'll invite public input. If you would like to address council, please come up to the microphone, give us your name, address, and share your comments, and we would ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes. After everyone has had an opportunity to speak, I'll ask the applicant to return to the microphone. If there are any questions that have been asked by anyone, they will be answered at that time. Then the matter will be turned over to council for decision. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This first item is 4601 Cordova Bay Road. It's a subdivision rezoning and development variance permit. The report of the Director of Planning is recommending the Council approve the application to rezone to create one additional lot. Final reading of the zoning bylaw and development variance permit would be withheld pending registration of the covenant to ensure various provisions are accounted for. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any questions from council? Would the applicant like to come forward, please?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, my name is Luke Murray. I'm a planner with Plans Consulting. I'm here to talk about the rezoning variance permit and subdivision application for one additional lot. So we'll take 1 to 2. I'll start with the location of the subject property. It's in the Cordova Bay neighborhood. It's located just past Ocean Park Drive, and it's 4601 Cordova Bay Road. It's on the north end of the Mount Douglas Parkway. So the site area is approximately 34,000 square feet. We're proposing to divide the lots into 2, almost equal, one being 18,000 square feet, the other being 16,000 square feet. Our original application date was on January 25th, 2012, at which point in which it was first committee of the whole on October 15th, 2012, where the application was denied due to not enough information. The minutes of that meeting were never ratified. The council chose to defer the application to a further committee of the whole, which is what tonight is, and we hope to provide all the information that is required to make a decision. So the existing land use is residential. The adjacent parcel to the north is the Cordova Bay, which is Pacific Ocean. To the south you have RS18, to the east RS18, to the west RS12, and the current zoning of the site is RS18. We're proposing to take it to an RS12 zone. All of those zones are the single-family residential zones. The local area plan is Cordova Bay, and the designation of that plan is general residential. I'd like to start with just an overview of what the proposal is, what the site plan. So starting at the north end of the site, that dark green area is the steep slope protection area and the marine foreshore protection area. No work will be taking place within those zones. Moving down a little bit, you have the purple area, which is the RS12 setback area. So the house can, in theory, be sited anywhere within that area. It can't occupy the whole purple area as a footprint, but it can be sited within it. The maroon piece is a sewer right-of-way expansion that will be on the property coming from the western property, which is 4607 Cordova Bay Road. The yellow areas are the proposed building envelopes. which will be, we've engaged an architect to design the two structures, and those will be secured through a design covenant to meet the existing neighborhood character. The purple portions, or light blue portions there, existing footprints of the nearby houses. So the site's quite screened, so what I'd like to do is take you through a little bit of a photo map. The arrows indicate the direction of the photographs I'm going to be walking through, just to give you an idea of the site within its property boundaries. So on the bottom left you have a key map which shows what particular photo we're looking at and where on the property. So behind the vegetation there you can see a building outline, and that is what the proposed structures will be on the site. No architectural features are shown, but as you can see the site is very well screened, and the visual impact to the road and to the neighbors is quite low. This is looking east, once again from Clover Bay Road. You can see the building superimposed behind the vegetation there as well. And this is the existing access to the property. There is a wall and a gate currently. This will be the proposed access to lot number 2, should this be approved. Now we're within the site. The main area as you enter the gate is just a large gravel pad. And the building construction is very low impact on the vegetation, as you can see the site's quite cleared as is. On the left was where lot number 1 building will be, and on the right will be lot number 2. So directly ahead at the back is, on that bench, is the previous picture, but this picture shows where lot number 2, the building envelope, will occupy. The house on the left will be deconstructed. This is the view from the center line of the property, looking at the adjacent parcels, and you can see that the vegetation is screening the property quite well. This photo here is looking at what will be lot number 2. Once again, the house will be deconstructed, and the new building will be in its place. And finally, this is, the impetus for the proposal. It's got a very beautiful view of one of Saanach's finest bays. It's high bank waterfront. It's absolutely stunning, and we hope, for new owners to enjoy it. So part of the application is a variance permit for lot width. The zone requires 22 meters of width, and we're proposing 16.6, which is narrower, obviously, than what's required. I just want to show that north of Cordova Bay Road, there's only 2 parcels that actually meet the zone's requirements. The rest are all non-conforming or have variance permits in place. So it's not uncommon in the neighborhood to find lots that don't meet the width requirements. South of Cordova Bay Road, we found the same thing. 3 parcels meet the width requirements. I'll draw your attention to the bottom right. That shows parcels that require 60 meters of width actually only have 17 meters. So this isn't to say that there's anything wrong with this, it's just to say that our proposal isn't going to affect the neighborhood character. It's an existing, the width is an existing non-conformity that's prevalent within the neighborhood. And this final slide on the lot width just shows different dimensions. So on the right, the red parcel is the minimum lot size of 930 square meters with a 22 meter lot width. The next one over in orange is what our smallest lot will be with a 22 meter wide width. And then the actual sizes are the 2 skinny lots on the left. So we have almost double the area required, but they are narrow. So it's just it's a dimension thing that's based on geography and topography of the site. Moving to traffic and parking, these are obviously 2 prevalent issues on any rezoning and subdivision. So first is to address the sight lines. So the geometric design for Canadian Road suggests a 50-kilometer road to have approximately 90 to 120 meters of sight distance. So looking west on the right, you'll see the development notice sign. That will be the access to lot number 1. And the site in yellow has an existing 150-meter sight line. And the orange is just a reference to show you what 90 meters is. So the 150, is significantly farther than what is suggested by the geometric design standards. Looking to the east, once again, this sight line is in yellow, and it's 75 meters, so it is shy of the proposed standards. And to mitigate that, on site, there's lots of room for an appropriate turnaround, so that cars don't have to back onto Cordova Bay Road. They can turn around on property and enter Cordova Bay Road nose forward with the most visibility possible. And the bylaw requires 2 off-street parking stalls. There's more than enough on site, and the traffic generation is approximately 9.57 trips per day, which results in a 0.07% increase in traffic. So moving to the community consultation we've undertaken, the Cordova Bay Community Association was first received the referral from Sandwich staff on April 4th of 2012. On October 8th of 2014, we also did a presentation to the association, and on November 9th, we received a letter to the applicant supporting the proposal unanimously with no concerns. On January 22nd of this year, Sandwich requested another referral, and they provided no additional comments to the letter that they sent us. There's a note there below from the director of the planning chair. And we also undertook some door knocking efforts on the adjacent properties. And in green indicates all the neighbors that were in support of our proposal. The gray areas, we weren't able to connect with the owners, or they had no input that they wanted to provide to the process. As you'll note in the report, 6 trees are proposed to be removed. On the left-hand side, we have the 3 trees that for sure have to come out due to the building envelope, and we're proposing to do a 2-to-1 replacement strategy for those trees. On the right, we've met with Capital Tree Service and Don Man Excavating, who will potentially undertake the site servicing. And they've indicated that they believe they can expand the sewer right-of-way without affecting those 2 trees. So based on the professional advice, the report says 6, but new evidence suggests that we can only stick to 3 trees removed, and we retain those stand on the right to keep the property screened. Some of the project benefits, it's a very small adaptive change. It's an urban infill project. We believe it integrates with the neighborhood fabric, and that will be, secured by design covenant. It provides some economic benefits and the utilization of existing infrastructure. And there's very little for sale in the area, so it does increase housing options. I know it's on the more expensive end of the spectrum, but it still is a market for housing. We're also proposing to add a street light at our cost to enhance some safety and visibility on Cordova Bay Road. On the environmental perspective, the site was designed to mitigate tree loss. We will do the 2-to-1 tree replacement. The marine and steep slope areas will be secured by covenant for protection. We're committing to a solar-ready conduit and piping in the construction of the 2 houses, as well as EnerGuide 82 commitment. We're going to try to recycle and deconstruct the house in the best way we can, and also to install some permeable pavers on the site to reduce the impervious surface and to control the runoff. In summary, this proposal is supported by the Community Association, the residents of the immediate neighborhood, planning staff as indicated by tonight's report, and the district's policy documents such as the zoning bylaw, local area plan, and the fish community plan. I thank you for your consideration tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Councillor German.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to the applicant. The report mentions heat pumps. Have you made a commitment to the installation of heat pumps?
Through the chair to Councillor Gorman, the heat pumps were an idea to achieve EnerGuide 82. So the commitment wasn't to heat pumps, the commitment was to EnerGuide 82 rating.
Thank you. I just mentioned as staff, when we got a report on climate change and sustainability, one of the things it says in there that the proposed development will include heat pumps and etc. I'm a little surprised that we have indicated in the report that they will include heat pumps when the applicant has made no specific commitment to such. So I'll make note of that. Thank you.
Councillor Brownell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, thank you to the applicant. I have questions around geotech, and I'm looking at Levelton's letter of March 19th, 2014. In the previous application, the original house was going to stay, and now you're going to build 2 new houses. And so my concern is that in this letter it talks about Lot B will extend approximately 3 meters closer to the foreshore slope. And I'm wondering, I know when they sign off, there's all these guarantees on their part, but I'm reflective of what happened over in the mainland North Van and the slope slippage. I'm reflective of climate change and significant rains. and sea level rise. So can you talk to me about the geotech stuff?
Through the chair to Councillor Brownoff. So yeah, you've touched on some very complicated things that are ongoing in many municipalities. You know, the CRD is undertaking some very large, extensive research on how sea level rise will affect all regulatory municipalities. And from the geotech standpoint, so there's a steep slope protection area, which is a developed permit area. The geotech has identified a setback line that is even further from that, and then that house on lot B is extended even further back from that line. So we're not building to the maximum geotechnical line that they have identified. Part of the issue with slope stability in that area, it's very variable. The further you go south, the soil types do change. On this particular site, the geotech has, in discussion, identified that when you build the two new houses and you take appropriate catchment measures, it can actually be better than the existing, because through the permeable pavers and catching the movement of water and directing it to the extension of the storm sewer, then you reduce the level of water that is flowing into the site. And in addition to that, the covenant of the steep slope area retains the trees. We're not proposing to top any trees for views or leave stumps in place, which can result in some different slope stability issues. That steep slope area is completely untouched. We're going with the geotex line and then taking it a step further back from that. So I hope that it helps somewhat.
Well, I guess the other question I would have is, I understand all that, and I'm just a little concerned as we've seen other things. So would there be anything that your client would have to secure so that they wouldn't add any more load to the site closest to the slope? Like any outdoor things, like swimming pools or something that would create a weight load?
Yeah, so through the chair, there's nothing proposed from that nature. The geotech has seen the building plans and identifies that the soil, you have to excavate to an appropriate weight-bearing depth of appropriate native soils and load-bearing soils. And so that, when the geotech reports are secured on the covenant, on the title of the property, and staff can correct me, the building permit stage, that will be reviewed, and so that will form part of the actual construction drawings and part of the details that are addressed at the building permit.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of questions. What is the square footage of the flat area that the homes will be built on? Where to the top slope?
Yeah, through the chair, apologies, but the applicant might be able, the owner might be able to help me with this. I believe the footprint is approximately 1,400 square feet of each building.
Yeah, just wondering how big the area of the land is, the actual flat part that you can build on.
Oh, the setback area away from the steep slope?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that would be...
You show the large lots, but obviously there's only so much you can build on.
Yeah, I would say that the setback area would allow for a building to be sited in approximately maybe a 6,000 square foot area.
And yet my other question is the report says the original house will be deconstructed, and you said you'll try to deconstruct it. So will it be disconstructed or will you just try?
Through the chair, sorry, the recycling was the try. The appropriate deconstructed, the reuse was the try, but otherwise the building will be deconstructed and recycled in an appropriate manner. But things that can be reused, we'd like to reuse.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Plant.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Murray, for coming tonight. I'm just curious, two questions. One, what is the value of adding a street light to a hydro pole? I'm assuming this is the offer amenity. What's the value of doing that? Not the value of doing it, the value to do that, excuse me.
Through the chair, if I could enlist the engineering director's help on this one.
Through the chair to Councillor Plant, I wouldn't have the exact number there, but it's probably in the ballpark of $2,000.
Okay, thank you very much. And the second question, just with the 6 trees that have been identified, I'm not sure, I suspect it should have been a question to our Director of Planning. I'm just wondering, are any of those 6 identified in Saanich's inventory as significant trees?
Through the chair, I don't believe so. I mean, it's a western red cedar, an arbutus, and a fir.
Yeah, I looked at it. I looked at the arborist's report. It just, I didn't find a quick cross-reference to see if any of those are designated as significant trees. And I'm not sure if that would have showed up in that report anyway. So you're not sure?
To my knowledge, none of them are protected trees.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any members of the public wish to address this item, please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Mr. Mayor, and Council. My name is Kurt Ryan. I'm the owner of the property. I just wanted to clear up a couple of things, some questions. The heat pump is a definite commitment. I've been in several meetings with the energy advisor regarding how to achieve this EnerGuide 92. And one of my goals is to reduce the windows and other things on this design to make it so that it's achievable with heat pumps and multiple things. In terms of the trees that you talked about, we've had a couple recent opinions that only 3 trees would probably be impacted, and there are 3 western cedars. The other 3, which he showed you on the screen, would probably not be impacted. They are, the sewer and the sanitary and storm sewer go through there right now already, and none of those trees have been impacted in the past. And that sewer was put in about 8 years ago. So those trees are all fine and intact. And those couple opinions which, we can bring proper documentation to that hopefully at our next meeting. And I don't know if there's any other questions that I missed. In terms of, there was one question about the geotech. There was a 3rd opinion or 4th opinion that from Levelton that dealt with specifically that setback for the slight change to the building footprint, and they've addressed it quite clearly in that third opinion. So there's quite a few things there to read. The existing house on the property is quite not very usable, and it's really one of the most efficient homes in the region probably. So it probably would have to be decommissioned and removed at some point anyway. It's probably not cost effective to put a lot of money into that structure that's there. But I'm committing to reuse as much as possible of that building and donate to Habitat or whoever will take items from that building to use for their own use. And I think I've tried to check off every box that the city staff have worked really hard on this to try to get every little thing right. And so I want to thank them for that. But I'm pretty sure I've dealt with as many of these issues as they could come up with, and as some of the things that were mentioned at the first committee of the whole. So I think I've done my due diligence, and I think the plan is a good plan. I think there's good benefits for Saanich in bank preservation and covenants. I think there's good for the neighborhood. The neighbors are unanimous. There's not even one negative comment out of all those people who signed the support. And so I think it's a good rezone to RS12, which is the proper zone, I think, for that lot. I think RS18 is not really not a good fit. So what I'm proposing is RS12, and I think the plans are good, and I'd like to reserve the right to make a few design changes so that the plans are a little bit unique in their own. Right now they're basically the same plan but reversed, and I'd like to make a few small changes to make it so that each house looks completely unique with different colors and cladding, and just to make it look like it's not the same house, mirror house, right? So I think that's it, unless you have any questions for me, or go back to Luke.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else wish to address this item? Thank you very much. Councillor Bryce.
This go forward to public hearing.
Councillor Bryce.
Thank you, Chair. This is a magnificent piece of property. We did not advance previously because of lack of detail, and I commend the presenters. I think all the details that we were looking for have been presented here, and there's strong neighbourhood support, community association support. Nobody's going to be negatively impacted. I particularly like the idea that the homeowners are going to be able to enter their and exit their properties with their vehicles front forward. I think there's enough here to send it to public hearing, and I'm glad to support it.
Councillor Turbo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will also support this going to public hearing. I appreciate the great deal of additional information that has come to us since this was covered, came before us before. And I appreciate the general commitment to protection of the slope and foreshore, and also commitment to reach Interguide 82, Built Green Gold equivalent. I think this application definitely merits going to a public hearing. No question about that. I will make one comment that more applies to the report in front of us, and that is I would, without wanting to be critical, I would love to see the reports on climate change impacts of applications achieve a kind of different balance. What we seem to tend to do now is a listing of all the things that are positive about the climate change impact of developments, and not much of a balance in terms of what are the negatives, so council can weigh the two. This is, for example, not the worst place for infill development, but it's not the best either, and will probably result in a small increase in automobile traffic. Given that there's limited opportunity for development in this area, there's only an addition of 1 unit, those things are probably excusable in that respect. But I think council needs that balance of two sides of the argument, so the council can take a look and say, well, on balance, you know, we can accept this given where it sits in terms of the climate change equation amongst other things. I'm not sure right now in terms of climate change we're getting that equation properly in front of us. Thank you.
Councillor Hayes.
Thank you, through the chair. I enjoyed this presentation. There was a lot of detail there. I wasn't here in 2012, so I didn't get to a sense of the change, but this is certainly a detailed presentation. If I may ask one point of clarification from the applicant, is this allowed at this point, or am I past that?
I think you're past that.
Okay, very good, no worries. Maybe next time we could hear a clarification on each house had 8 parking spots drawn on that sketch. I'm just wondering if that was planned in future. Maybe that could be reflected on later. I did appreciate reading our staff's report, and as a new councillor I'm still coming up that learning curve, and with Sharon Hordansky, I must admit, our Director of Planning, the conversations are going better. I'm holding my own and I'm understanding everything until Sharon starts speaking.
Councillor Plant.
Thank you, Chair. I certainly support this going to public hearing. That's the logical thing. The only two things that I would ask the proponent to consider is just clarifying the parking. I wasn't sure if it was 2 or 4 or 8, that diagram I share with Councillor Haynes. And also just the discussion, if the amenity seems to be a street light. And I'm just wondering if the applicant would consider either talking with the municipality about perhaps some bike signs in that neighborhood because of the bike route through there, some signs from Mount Doug Park, or just something creative. I'm not saying that a street light is a bad thing, but I'm just wondering if that's what's needed there, or just that that's what came to mind. So just maybe asking the neighbors what would be necessary, asking friends of Mount Doug Park, how could we help mitigate our entry of another residence into this area. But I look forward to hearing more at the public hearing. Thank you for coming tonight.
I think we're getting some good questions for the public hearing. Councillor Sanders.
Thank you. To be brief, I do support this going forward. We certainly didn't have the information last time around, and I think this has covered just about everything. Personally, I think a street light's great because it's pretty darn dark through there, and those four-legged guys with the big ears and antlers that wander. So anyway, there will perhaps be others that can for the public hearing. Thank you.
Councillor Murdoch and Councillor Biden.
I thought you saw me. You got this. Thank you. I too am supportive of this going to public hearing. I appreciate the level of detail that we were presented with this evening. I remember very clearly talking about this back in 2012 because I remember this copy of the land survey, and that was the extent of the planning documentation we got. And thinking, oh boy, we're going to need a little more detail. And on that point, and I was pleased that the owner spoke about his design concepts. I noted that one of the elements of the restrictive covenants will be that, or a covenant will be that the building conform to the siting and generally in character to what's shown on the plans presented to council. And what I wasn't certain of is which plans. Because we saw some stuff in the PowerPoint, but all we got on paper was the land survey documentation and some photos of what it would look like behind the fence. So I just want to have a sense